putting the Valley first. You're watching WCDX News, first at 9.
NASA has set its sights on a human mission to Mars in 2030. But before that happens, a string of experiments are set to test new technologies, including an unmanned mission to Mars nearly 34 million miles away. And you can bet the Rocket City is playing a pivotal role in our nation's quest to launch astronauts all the way to the Red Planet for the very first time. Huntsville, Alabama, aka the Rocket City. Scientists, engineers, rocket experts, researchers, and contractors are all living up to that title, working towards an out-of-this-world experiment, NASA's first ever human mission to Mars. Nearly 7,000 workers in Huntsville are taking on the challenge, setting their sights on research, development, and assembly of the Space Launch System, also known as SLS.
Marshall Space Flight Center is involved in a lot of different efforts right now to help us get to Mars and explore deep space. Probably the biggest program that we support right now is the Space Launch System program. It's the rocket that's behind me. Marshall manages this program.
Orion will be the most powerful rocket in the world, set to fly humans farther into deep space than ever before. Now, to give you an idea of the size of the rocket that's going to launch in the fall of 2018, this right here is 321 feet. And if you take a look up at the connector, this is 27 feet tall, so it gives you an idea of the size. Now, the weight is 5.75 million pounds, which is the equivalent to 8 fully loaded 747 airplanes. The Marshall Space Flight Center here in Huntsville is responsible for designing, manufacturing, and testing all aspects of the launcher, including the flight software and the assembly of key rocket components.
Large sections of the rocket, including the biggest section, are being designed here in Huntsville. Boeing is designing the core stage here in Huntsville. It's going to be built at NASA's Michoud Assembly Facility down in Louisiana. Then there's a piece called the Launch Vehicle Stage Adapter, which we're building right here at the Marshall Space Flight Center in conjunction with our partners Teledyne Brown Engineering.
The Rocket City not only contributes to the rocket development, it also contributes to logistics of life in space.
How do we get air and water and food for the crew? We're working that with the space station right now. It's given us a great chance to build and develop some systems and make sure that they are robust enough to support our crew for the kind of times that a Mars mission is going to take.
The Marshall Space Flight Center also works towards understanding how to grow renewable food sources with an experiment called Veggie, astronaut crews growing small crops in outer space.
We had a successful test for growing lettuce, and the crew actually got to eat some of the lettuce that we grew in space. But for instance, tomatoes are a flowering plant. So we want to grow tomatoes eventually to support a mission to Mars. Because it's nice to have fresh products, fresh food.
The Marshall Space Flight Center also developed a system in which bodily fluids, including sweat and urine, can recycle themselves into drinkable water for astronauts. This enables humans to stay in outer space longer, extending the shelf life of limited resources.
We're also changing the Huntsville skyline. We've got new test stands going up in our test area where large pieces of this vehicle behind me will be tested for structural loads.
While each of these intricate components require daily innovation and creative strategy by workers here in the Rocket City, engineers say each critical step is well worth the chance of a successful human mission to the Red Planet.
You know, seeing a rocket launch is an amazing experience. If you ever get the chance to do it, it's a wonderful thing to do. But there's a sense of pride when you see what you've worked, in many cases for years on, actually take flight and do what it's designed to do successfully. It's just a wonderful feeling.
The next time the Rocket City will see their work in action is this June. As part of NASA's next milestone in their mission to Mars, crew will head out to Utah to test 2 white 5-segment boosters you see here on both sides of this rocket. A series of tests of the RS-25 engines and other rocket elements will follow into the launch of the SLS in 2018. To learn more and catch my interview with a NASA astronaut, head to rocketcitynow.com.